and welcome to Zest with me, Shel Marie, the podcast that will take you on a journey from the hustle to the harmony, fueling your passion whilst finding your peace. Today, I have the joy of introducing someone who knows that your voice isn't just a tool, it's a superpower. Chris Wilson, the founder of Speak and Serve, has spent over 20 years empowering senior leaders, corporate teams, and individuals to harness the power of their voice, master presentations, and create impact with confidence, transforming nervous jitters into commanding presence. He blends energy, accountability, and heart to unlock new ways of thinking and performing. A Toastmaster champion, Ironman, triathlon, and NLP practitioner, he shows us how courage, clarity, and choice can reshape the way we communicate and live our lives. I'm super excited for you to meet him. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Well, I'm privileged and honoured that you've done so much due diligence, Shel. I mean, was that really me that you were talking about there? I'm feeling very humble.
It absolutely was. Yeah, I'm so happy to hear that, and you are more than welcome to have received that, because I only used your bio.
I've done lots of podcast interviews, and to see the work and prep that you've done to make sure that the guest feels honoured, I do feel absolutely empowered with your presence, Shel Marie.
Oh, thank you so much, Chris. And with that in mind, especially, I feel like even in just the three words, speak and serve, I feel like for me, it's just already such a powerful way to just really communicate exactly not just who you are and what you do, but a really something you're very passionate about, as well as is really important in actually, I believe, all people's lives. Because as we know, what we say can have a huge impact on other people. So I would just love you to share a little bit more about that.
Well, I'm a great believer of we all have to sell ourselves in some way, shape or form, whether that be corporate or even to your significant other. At some point, you had to lock eyes and that person said, hey, I am interested. But the attraction, which was the physical aspect, was only superficial. It was only then when you had a conversation with them that they thought, this is interesting. I like this person. And the same works in sales. So I have a belief that some people think you sell to people, whereas my own hospitality background says, but then we serve people with something, we do it for them. Yeah. And that's my nuance, is that we can speak and have conversations, but we do it to enable the person to be a better version of themselves through the service interaction that we have.
Absolutely. I can relate to that 100%, because if I'm right in using this example of something that happened to me, I was not even, I was at a networking event, not even planning to sell at all, just generally speaking. And the next thing I had a speaking engagement in a month's time, and I hadn't even like it happened so quickly between me speaking about me that I almost was like, what's just happened? So if that's correct in what you've just expressed, there's almost like this magic sometimes. Of course, we need to put in effort, but sometimes when someone just sees something and they like you, or they like just how you're expressing yourselves, things just actually naturally happen because they just see you as a part of, say, their vision or something they're creating. But equally, obviously, there's both sides. Like, we can't just I'll just turn up and everything will happen for me.
Yeah, and sometimes people will say, oh, well, it's okay for you, Shel Marie. You clearly have something, you have that charisma and you have that energy. And sometimes people will say to me, well, it's okay for you. You can do the 60-second elevator pitch with your eyes closed. But we didn't all come out the womb in terms of this ability to suddenly engage and speak. Just like riding your bike. The first time you got on your bike, you were probably nervous, you had the stabilizers, somebody was probably with you giving you encouragement, and you fell off, you learned, you got back on again, and slowly but surely, it becomes something that you are almost innate at. And speaking is no different. we all have the ability to speak, but some of us have this fear. I think, in fact, 5 to 10% of us in the world have something called glossophobia, which is the fear of public speaking in public. And it's just your way of saying, okay, this feels a little bit nerve-wracking, a little bit anxious, and the body is enabling you to be primed for the engagement. And you can either be excited about it or you can be nervous about it, but they really come from the same place in terms of the nervous energy that exists within you. And it's enabling yourself to think, I can feel that, I can hear that, and I'm going to work with it, as opposed to it debilitating you.
Absolutely. I think that's really important what you've just addressed, because it's often typical that people see the shiny version of like now being confident speaking or whatever, but they don't always know actually how you got to that point, and actually how within you feel and how much you've done to actually come across in that way as well. Because even with this and speaking engagements, I never actually saw myself doing that. And I actually used to be someone very terrified of public speaking. I don't know how in between that and this, it's something's obviously happened. But I think, yeah, it's super important that we see people and we learn from them, which is why I'm speaking to incredible people like you, so that someone could say, oh, do you know what? I love the way Chris presents himself. I love what he's offering. I love what he's doing. And I would love a piece of this. This is important, but also not to judge, because do we actually know Chris every version? No. So I think this is super important. And just to give like a little bit more background about you, because I think it's important not just to know what services you provide for people, but I know you do Ironman and things like that. So these aren't just, little events. These are strong man, not just man, woman, events that take a lot, particularly mindset and strength. Would you say that plays a lot into you professionally, personally? And do you find that, sorry, I'm asking two questions at once, but I mean, like, how has that played into your life?
Well, 8 years ago, 2017, I went through just what I could only describe as a really bad problem in life. A lot of things all came together, and I was in a very, very dark hole of my own self-persecution, really. And the two words for me was guilt and shame. And the journey out of that for me was actually going through some tough challenges. I went into triathlon, and the pinnacle of that was doing an Ironman. I don't say that to try to look like I am some kind of super athlete, but it was my own way of healing some inner thoughts and inner voices. And I said to myself, this is going to be tough. And if I can get through that, no matter how bad the days get, I've got that backstory of I chose to do something difficult. And my mantra is really simple. Nothing good comes easy. And even in speaking or sailing or podcasting, so many people give up after the first rejection or the first episode that didn't go so well or the conversation that didn't quite land. And I say, just crack on, carry on, because even in the failures and the lessons, you'll probably learn more from the dips than you do in the highs. And I'll do a cold shower in the morning. If I said, right, I'm going to go for a run today and it's going to be a 6K on the board, my mind says, no, Chris, it's cold, it's windy. Why don't you do it tomorrow? That's when I lean in and say, no, today I must, I can, and I will.
Oh, amazing. First of all, thank you so much for sharing that so openly, Chris, because I know that just in that, like, there's even though I did not know anything about this, I just always know that there's always something. So I really appreciate you, really, because I know you didn't have to share that, but even in someone listening to that really shows. And actually, we should congratulate you. Actually, thank you. You're amazing. And also, it shows not only the strength of your character, but it literally just ties into what we've just said of don't make assumptions based on what you can just see of the person now. And also, we're not now the person now. Life will take us up and down, so this is super important. And just hearing that background, that really shows how that like feeds into your mindset and your drive and what you aspire to be, become, and do. And what I really heard was the powerful affirmations you really share with yourself, and yeah, like how obviously we should also be kind to ourselves, the masculine and feminine energy, if that's what we want to call it, of, you know, no, today I made this commitment, let's go. But then also be kind to ourselves if we know, actually, no, today's not a day. Or even just do something. Can you take it and make it shorter? Instead of the however long run, could you just go for a walk in the cold? Like, if that's going to make you feel like you've accomplished something. And I think this is also super important. So thank you so much for mentioning that. And I'd also love to know how your experience of a Toastmaster really played a significant part in how you've created everything you've created. Like, did you see a loop there or something that inspired you?
Yeah, anybody who doesn't know about Toastmasters, sometimes it comes with this mystique of sort of buckles, shoes, and frilly frock shirts, and it's not that at all. It's not the person that stands up at the wedding and go, "Oh, ladies and gentlemen, you know, please be upstanding for." It's not that at all. It is really the art of speaking in public. And global organization, you could probably find your local Toastmaster even in Montenegro, and it's a place where, if you're a stranger in a city, great place to meet people, because they're like-minded. They often have a growth mindset. They're looking to push themselves a little bit, and they're also looking to connect with other individuals. My inspiration came from a guy called Lewis Howes, who has a podcast called The School of Greatness. And he had a fear of public speaking and wanted to get out there. And on an episode, I think in 2022, he said, "You should just go." I thought, well, why not? So I went along to my local club and I loved it. Really, really did like it. And it seemed as though I was okay at it as well. So I went into a couple of club competitions and I've won a few, but I really, really enjoy the habit of going and meeting other people. And it also seems to bring, in a city like York, where I am, we're quite traditional, very sort of UK, and it brings in a lot of different characters from different ethnicities, different social groups. So it's a real sort of cauldron of humanity in a room. And this Saturday, I've actually got a new competition. So I've been through my what's called the club round, area round. And on Saturday, I'm competing again for what's called the Northern Division final.
Wow.
And it's all about the critic of the inner voice. So my whole 7 minutes is about how you can honor the inner voice and the inner critic to enable you to be the best version you can.
Amazing. And I think that's really important, what you've just expressed, if I'm hearing it correctly, of honor the inner critic, because I think there's so much of this like demonizing it sometimes, and like, you know, as much as possible high vibration, all this, that, and the other. But actually, do you know what? We're here to experience all feelings, all thoughts, all emotions, and I feel like we're always kind of chasing this healing and this quick fix, and this like, no, I'm the best version as much as possible, and if I dip, you know, then chaos enters my life, and all these different things. But essentially, what we think we kind of create anyway. So if we're going to think that, then we're welcoming that into our lives. So something I've really started honoring, which might be linked to what you're going to be expressing, is actually seeing it as a version of me that just needs some extra love. And it's maybe scared because there's a change coming up, or something in the nervous system isn't quite right, so it wants to go back to the safety net. It doesn't like the fear and the unknown, so the thoughts gets loud and really strong. But actually, if you just take a second not to get annoyed and too much into the drama of it all, okay, where's this coming from? Where's this actually coming from? Because I found that eventually, obviously we're still not, you know, there's days where sometimes we just need a break, but when you really, I feel, dive deeper into it, it's actually from a place of something that doesn't either relate to us anymore, or isn't even something that even belong to us. So I'm really excited to. Are you going to be putting it up on your podcast once it's released?
I don't know whether I will put the whole thing on because it's quite private, really, in terms
Yeah,
of.
yeah.
But at the end of the day, Shall, if I win, then it'll be on the Toastmasters platform anyway.
Not
So
if, when
yeah,
you
yeah,
win.
yeah, when.
It's going for gold.
No, I am very much affirming that it'll be an enjoyable exercise, whatever happens. I'm proud to be at this point, and I'm enjoying just the sharing of some of my stories and my inner voice character called Clyde. I have a conversation with him often, and he can be sat in the front seat of the car with me sometimes, enjoying the view, watching the trees go past, and sometimes he'll kind of want to grab the steering wheel, and I say, "Oi, back seat, mate. Today, this isn't the time for you to take control of my life. I'm driving the bus today." And he sort of sits there in a bit of a strop on and a bit guilty and a little bit, but slowly but surely he'll calm down and he'll trust the fact that I'm in command of the ship today and silence himself.
I think that's so beautiful how you've just described Clyde as well, because I think, yeah, the moment we kind of like almost make it like I just had a vision of almost like a moody teenager, you know? And when we take it as something like take it away from something negative and trying to cap us and control us and you know and kind of make a story of it and see it more as like that stroppy child or that teenager or like a character, it kind of, I think, it makes it more comical value, you know, like obviously there's you know we're talking very open here and there's different times we go through things, but yeah, and I guess like similar to how I did it, I saw it as like almost a vulnerable child that's just so scared that it wants love. But I love your version of like, yeah, just almost coming in to just interfere, have a little mess around, and you're like, hey, backseat.
Yeah, but he or she does turn up, particularly when you're speaking. I don't know whether you've had this yourself, but you feel as though you've run out of questions or you've said the wrong thing, and the little voice goes, "Shel Marie, you're making a fool of yourself," and there's all these millions of people watching this podcast, they're all going to judge you, and before you know it, this voice suddenly starts taking control of your ability just to be you. So there is some technique in it, particularly on speaking. You're on stage and you see somebody looking down at the phone, you think, hey, he or she's not paying attention, how dare they? But actually it could just be that there's something going on and they want to check in with the school to make sure little Johnny's been picked up.
Or they're taking notes of your amazing speech.
It could be
but
that.
We always think it's negative, don't we?
We always do. And that's one of my other mantras, is seek first to understand before you can be understood, and just honor the audience that are engaged as opposed to focusing on the one or two that look as if they're not quite with you, because the majority will be there. Because in speaking, most people want to see you succeed. It's only the cantankerous little, I won't swear, on the outside that want to see you do badly. Honor the people that want to be with you and cheer you on, as opposed to giving you energy to the people that don't deserve it.
Absolutely, and I guess that's where that endurance comes from, you know, like I think it all feeds in. I'm absolutely enjoying this conversation, and you've shared so much already, and I'm so excited for you in this weekend and all that you're doing. And obviously, if there's anything else that you have coming up or any way people can contact you, like please feel free to share anything.
Well, you know that we were both on our YouTube, and we're powering through trying to get each little subscriber on there. So I do share quite a lot on my YouTube, and I also have something called the Speak and Serve Community, which is a safe plus for us to talk about the art of speaking. And I curate some calls in a month to make sure that there is a content, hot seat challenge, and a coffee cup of chat just to talk about speaking. I know we can go networking, but this is a safe place just to really be with other people that want to talk about their craft and their challenges in a psychologically transparent way, where we can be honest, vulnerable, transparent, and others. What do I always say? Proximity is power. So when you're surrounded by other people that are either ahead of you or behind you, either way, they're all on the same journey.
Absolutely. And I think I actually really love that you shared that, because I think sometimes we think this or that, but actually we don't always want just straight away the networking, grabbing all the business cards, intense conversation. Not saying they're always intense, but sometimes actually we just want to connect on a professional level, and like what you say, just have those conversations that maybe you don't feel like you can have when you're almost in a situation of collaboration or something. And I think that's really beautiful and human, because it's like there's strength in vulnerability, and I don't know what the outcomes are often, but I actually feel like you would connect more and probably receive more when you're in this type of setting, rather than going with an agenda, a mindset, an intention, and then being like, oh, okay, I've got this many business cards, what do I do now?
Well, case in point, you went networking, and you must have had a really rich conversation for somebody to then say, well, would you like to speak at our event? Yeah. I'm curious, did you have a question technique, or were you listening actively? What were you doing then to create that connection?
I think you're going to be really shocked by what happened. So I actually went to this event last minute. I was just invited, and I actually just showed up, and someone said, oh, the person's name, have you met me? I'd love to introduce you to her. And I'd only met this lady as well, like a couple of days ago. And then he was asking me questions, she was answering for me, and then so they're both, I kind of stood there in the middle, they're both talking between me. And then she's like, oh, do you have a business card? I'm like, yes, I have a business card. She's like, give him the business card. So I give him the business card, and then before I know, I'm like, they kind of went, oh, well, I've got to dash, yeah, me too. And then kind of both left, and then I went, what just happened? And then I just not chased it up, but just because obviously he gave me his business card, and then it was like, yeah, see you on this day in this place, and there's over 50 guests attending, and we'd love you to share your talk on the power of words, or whatever it is I was speaking about. And I was like, oh, okay. And it was, and ever since I've had a really great relationship with this person, and he's making some really serious moves, and I think this is the beauty, sometimes just connecting person to person has a real strength in itself as well, without any agenda. Sometimes just showing up, who are you, what do you do, love to get to know you, and just seeing the beauty unfold.
And what have you learned from your podcast journey so far in terms of showing up and carrying on with the consistency of doing it?
And I'm not just saying this just because there's a guest right now, you on, but how there's so much impact happening in this world, and so much heart-centered leadership, and so much growth and beautiful connections, and I don't know if you've experienced this from yours, but my idea of what a podcast was, this has not even became that, because to me this is like a connection to so many people globally, and I just feel like when I come off the podcast, it's not a tick and done and then I don't hear from the person. It's building of a global community, and even if, and I think this is really super important, what you mentioned earlier about getting that bad feedback, or doing the one episode and being like, oh gosh, what just happened? They're like, really trust and believe you are being guided to do something for a reason, because you may think it's a podcast, but you don't know what the greater impact is of what you are creating. And even this now with you, Chris, this is like a soulful connection, okay? A celebration of you and what you're doing. And actually, for me, I'm happy that I've been put in a position where I can have these incredible conversations, speak to people like you, but also celebrate you and all that you're doing, and have it so that other people can receive from you also. So I hope that answers your question.
It does. And I think that you have a really lovely presence in terms of your podcast style. So carry on doing it. I know we had a little conversation before we started about whether or not it is aligning for your stars in terms of why, but you're just trusting the process. And I love that you're just thinking, let's just carry on, because I don't quite know where this is going to go, but I'm enjoying the journey. And I think that's part of conversation and speaking. Just trust the process and be curious about the question, pause with it. And I have a phrase which is, there's a butler in your mind somewhere. I stole it from somebody else. It's not mine individually, but in your mind, there is a butler, and he or she will serve you the right language, the right connection, the right conversation, but don't rush him or her, because as soon as you rush him, he'll sort of spill the tea tray of sandwiches and cakes. So just sort of say, interesting question. Let me just pause on that for a second. And then slowly the butler will serve you with your experience of life. But if you rush him, he'll just go, ah! Yeah. And then the mouth and the brain starts thinking, and then you get all tongue-tied. And as I've just done then, you say ums and ahs, and so like, well, whatever, I mean, and all this stuff comes out that your inner voice then says, see, you're not even making sense. And it becomes hugely anxiety causing because you're rushing the process.
Thank you so much for that, Chris. And I know that wasn't just a message for me, that was also for everyone listening. And I think it's really important what you've just said, because I think sometimes we really something happening in a day or maybe a couple of days, we start to associate that with who we are and what it means for us. Whereas actually it's a passing, fleeting emotion, a moment. And actually go back to your center. What really are you predominantly? Because I know, okay, I've got to episode 85 now. I wouldn't do 85 episodes if it wasn't something I was passionate about and I loved. So in those moments where you maybe have a little uncertainty or something unsure, I love that butler analogy. And just be kind to yourself, be kind to the butler. Do you want just all of a sudden everything to just start falling over and people being nervous and creating a bit of chaos, when it's just maybe a fleeting moment?
Yeah. And you can empower yourself to be ready. Questions that you'll always get in life will be, hey, so what do you do? That's an often one. And then people will say, why? And then people will say, how are you? Those are the three questions you'll get every day, all the time. And I'll say to a client, well, maybe we could just rehearse how you answer those three questions with a little bit more zing, a little bit more intrigue, as opposed to, well, I'm fine. It's just such a platitude of what I'm fine. Well, perhaps you could say, do you know what? I'm exceptionally well today. Thank you so much for asking. And by the way, Shel Marie, how are you today? And you say it with conviction, tonality, and commitment, as opposed to this conversation that is just on a superfluous level that doesn't actually mean anything. And then, so what do you do? Well, personally, I enable people to create impact and influence using the power of their voice. What's your answer? But you'll have that question all the time, and not having it rehearsed and ready, I think, is an opportunity to not serve your audience or the people that are talking to you in the best way possible.
I agree 100%. And knowing, being British myself, that everything is always okay. You don't want to go too far this way, too down that way. So yeah, get that confidence and just really, really have that connection. And I love that as well, because there's a difference between labeling a podcast host and actually the impact and the service, the purpose behind what you're doing. So thank you so much, Chris. I know even just in that, so many people will definitely want to go and look you up and all that you're creating. So go to the description, all his information is there. Connect with this incredible man. And just finally, before you go, obviously, if there's anything else you want to share, please. I always ask, and it doesn't have to be something linked to what we've just spoke about, but if there's something right now that you believe someone listening would really benefit from hearing, what would you tell them?
Well, every day brings a new dawn, and therefore I would always ask you to be grateful for the fact you can wake up tomorrow morning and see a new dawn, because many people won't. And also, that new dawn gives you an opportunity to write your story on your page on a clean sheet, and whatever happened yesterday is simply the past, and the future is in your hands.
Oh, I love that. And I feel like whether it was intentional or not, it tied in perfectly to what we were just talking about. So beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much, Chris. And subscribe to his channel, subscribe to my channel, because not just out of the subscribing, it's the fact that the more exposure, the more these incredible voices like Chris can be heard, appreciated, and celebrated. So, yes, click that subscribe button now. Thank you.
Thank you, Shel Marie.